I always take January off, so I apologize that I haven't seen y'all in a minute. But here I am now. I just got done watching the State of Play and the Silent Hill Townfall transmission. Now, maybe I'll do a kind of thoughts and feelings about the State of Play itself. I do think, long story short, it was easily the best one they've done in bare minimum 5 years. A bunch of games. Most of them looked really, really, really good. There was a little bit of something for everyone. And normally in things like the State of Play or a Nintendo Direct or like an Xbox Showcase or whatever, there are 3, 4, 5 or more games that I'm just like out on. There was probably, 15 to 20 games, and I think I didn't give 2 shits about like 3 of them. Maybe 4. Really good track record. Most things looked interesting. That's the long and short of it. But clearly, a highlight for me was the Silent Hill Townfall trailer and the transmission. I'm going to keep it a little brief, I think. So if you haven't seen any of my videos covering Silent Hill before, my thoughts on the new games are, at this point, mixed but definitely positive. I think the Silent Hill 2 remake is pretty much as good as it possibly could have been. Bloober Team was basically given an impossible task, and they nailed it, in my opinion. To the point where I think that if you had never played Silent Hill 2 before, and you played the remake, I would feel comfortable saying you played Silent Hill 2. Would I like if you went back and played the original? Of course I would. But would I also be content knowing that you experienced the remake and then decided to say, I don't want to go back to the original. I just want to play that? I genuinely would say that's fine. I think the remake is that good. My thoughts on F are definitely mixed. I think Silent Hill F as a whole is like a 7 out of 10. I definitely don't see it in the top 3, not even the top 5 Silent Hill games. It's good. I liked it. I think I would rather play Homecoming or Origins again, to be honest. But it's still a good game. And for the record, I like Origins and Homecoming, okay? Silent Hill Townfall was this, like, looming threat. Because, like, Silent Hill 2 Remake is an updated version of Silent Hill 2, obviously. It was pretty safe in terms of, like, well, basically everything. It had a reliable story to base itself off of. It had reliable game design to base itself off of. It had reliable music to base itself off of. And it had an incredibly reliable atmosphere to base itself off of. You may also have noticed, tangent real quick, you may also have noticed that I never really covered Silent Hill F on my channel, except for, like, my video on it. My review, my big analysis on Silent Hill F is basically the only thing I ever made on my channel about Silent Hill F. And that was because I kind of always knew it was going to... I mean, it was obvious it was going to be weird. It was never going to be like a traditional Silent Hill game. So I was always hesitant to, like, even put my thoughts out there because it was going to be such a drastic shift in basically everything I expected a Silent Hill game to be. And I think my problem with it in the end is that it was, but also tried to not be at the same time. And then in the areas that it wasn't trying to be super different, I think it kind of fell on its face. But Silent Hill Townfall was this, like, looming mystery of, like, what is this game going to be? Because you had, like, a safe remake, a weird brand new entry, and then this. Like, is this also going to be, like, a weird new entry, or is it going to be, like, a more traditional new entry, or is it going to be, like... It could be anything. The developers of Townfall are known for, like, super famous narrative video games. Like, Observation won, like, a BAFTA. So I knew narratively I was kind of always confident that it was going to be at least solid, but gameplay-wise was my big... concern. I was always under the assumption, especially leading up to today, that Townfall was going to be another experiment, which always had me, like, incredibly cautiously optimistic. And I think one of the things that bummed me out the most about F was that the transmission that led up into F's release filled me with a lot of hope, because, like, it sounded like the developers were relaying things that I wanted the game to be in that transmission. But I think that, like, my expectations were incorrectly set based on what they said relative to what I think a Silent Hill game is. And the caveat here is the exact same thing could be happening with Townfall. But my takeaway from Townfall's transmission and its trailer is that this is basically just a new traditional Silent Hill game. With the added caveat, again, that it is a first-person entry, which is new for the franchise. But, like, every single thing that I saw in this trailer and transmission said to me that these guys are just trying to make a new Silent Hill game based on what games they grew up with playing, which is the ones that I grew up playing. So right off the bat, I'm filled with a lot of hope. So, like, one of the things that they started talking about, like, almost immediately is the new iteration on the radio. So the games in first person, you by default have, like, less field of view than you would in a third person game. I think that inherently makes a horror game a little bit more tense because, you know, your field of view is reduced pretty drastically from, like, a third person camera. But what the radio does now is that, like, you have to tune the radio to a certain frequency for it to, like, show where enemies are, like, behind walls and behind, like, objects in your way. So you'll be, like, hiding, trying to lean over, but if you tune your radio correctly, it will allow you to see if there's, like, an enemy behind whatever you're looking at, which I can only assume if you're close enough, alert monsters to your location, which I think is probably the way that it's going to be, because I think allowing you to basically kind of mechanically bypass the inherent limitations of a first-person camera with no drawback, kind of the wrong choice. So I'm assuming that if you're close enough, they'll just hear you. But I think that is not only a brilliant use of kind of working with the limitations of a first-person camera, but it's a genius, like, iteration on the Silent Hill radio. Time will tell if it is ever used strictly traditionally. Like, I wonder if you can kind of ignore the frequency mechanic entirely and just kind of go off of traditional, like, oh, it's blaring static, there must be a monster nearby kind of thing. But the vibes of this trailer are unreal. Within, like, 2 seconds of the foggy town of, St. Amelia, fully convinced me that this is, like, just, like, it's Silent Hill as I remember it, but just, like, a new entry with, like, you know, whatever kind of modern tweaks that they're throwing in there. And I think all of that was really sold to me specifically during the transmission when the developers talked about, like, growing up in, I think it was Scotland, and just, like, they captured the atmosphere, because they, like, went to the places that they grew up and, like, kind of showcased the comparison between where they grew up and lived to the game that they're making, and it's, like, 1-to-1. The dreary atmosphere is already something that I love. If it were up to me, every single day would be 45 degrees and overcast, okay? And, like, seeing that, like, aesthetic and vibe fully converted into a video game that is also a Silent Hill game, like, I could have cried. I don't need Silent Hill to be only in Silent Hill. There was only so much you could do with the town itself anyway. The American games started bloating the town to, like, unrealistic proportions to the point where they had 2 hospitals and a sanitarium that was, like, twice the size of both of them combined. Like, what are we doing here? Making the Silent Hill franchise, like, an anthology series was, in my opinion, always the right way to go, and making it anthological town by town is the right thing to do. If you're going to keep this franchise going, this is how you do it. So we got the vibes right, we got a first-person camera, which I'm totally okay with, and we've got this new iteration on the radio. Is there combat? Yes. Is it janky looking? Yes. I am fine with it. Despite my praise and adoration for Silent Hill F's combat, even though they leaned way too into it by the end of the game, I still think F's combat is the best combat in any survival horror game ever made. And this game being janky as fuck again, I am so here for it. The impression that I got from this trailer and the little bit they showed in the transmission is very visceral, and I think it's a better in-between of maybe like Silent Hill 2 and 3's combat and the Silent Hill 2 remake's combat. I think it's that a missing middle ground that I think Townfall was really leaning into, that I think will suit this game perfectly for what I can only assume to be an old Silent Hill game, but new. You know what I mean? There is still no release date. There is still a lot that they apparently can show us. My biggest concerns are really 2.5 things. Level design and puzzle box design. Those are the 1.5. And the second thing is that people may have already kind of discovered what the twist is. Real quick, potential spoiler alert. If you don't even want to know what a potential spoiler could be, just skip to this time code. It is very possible that this game is just Simon in a coma in a hospital called St. Amelia, which, if that is the case, that would only be bad now. And I mean, what I mean when I say that is that we have months to kind of like sit and like think about all of these theories before the game comes out. So we may kind of deduce what's happening and then play the game. But like, if you're someone that has never played Townfall 5 years from now and you just boot the game up, I doubt that like you'll probably figure it out with strictly just the game's narrative. I think that if people have already kind of figured it out, that would be a bummer, but I think that is kind of forgetting the way that they will tell the story is probably still going to be very impactful. And honestly, the twist of Silent Hill 2 isn't the reason that people love that game so much. It's like everything around the twist. So if everything around the potential twist, it really depends on everything else around that matters in terms of the narrative. And in terms of like the level design and puzzle box design, I have worn this record out more times than I can count. But if this is the first time you're here on my channel, let me just iterate. I think survival horror is at its best when it's a puzzle box. And I don't think F did that correctly even a little bit. I think the best examples of modern big name puzzle boxes that you can find right now are Silent Hill 2 Remake and Resident Evil 2 Remake. Resident Evil 2 Remake specifically is a huge puzzle box that you spend a long time unpacking the pieces, getting lost, and finding your way navigating this maze. It's perfect. Silent Hill 2 Remake is in a bunch of little puzzle boxes, but each puzzle box
listening to it because I like that
like
song
a
so
dungeon. Silent Hill F's puzzle boxes are like individual rooms, and it makes me angry. If Townfall can be more similar to 2's remake in terms of like level design, this might be one of the top 3 in the series. Given that the game's atmosphere is right, the combat looks exactly what I always expected Silent Hill's combat to kind of look like in the modern day, and the potential of like a well-told story with even if the twist is kind of easy to spot, but we don't know that yet. My takeaway from Silent Hill Townfall, everything I've seen today, is that the developers care. They care immensely. Watching them talk about them making this game felt like how I would try to communicate to people if I were in their shoes about growing up a Silent Hill and like trying to recreate those games in the modern day with a new entry. Like, I was sold wholeheartedly. And like, even down to the fact that the guy said that he beat the first one when he was super sick, and it was like in a fever dream, and he's never gone back and played it again to retain that like memory of what fever dream he had playing the Silent Hill 1 back in like 1999. That is so my shit, I cannot even put it into words. Townfall looks really, really promising. And I think that after F, this is the game that will make me the happiest. Like I said, I didn't hate F. I didn't even outright dislike F. I was just really disappointed by it. And I think that this game will be like a really, really good beer after a long day in terms of coming from F to Townfall. So those are my thoughts and feelings on Townfall. I am very, very excited on it. I cannot wait. I will have a full video out in the next 3 or 4 days, hopefully. Work's been kicking my ass, but I just had to get this out there. because I love Silent Hill, and I think I might love Townfall.